Why don't you just send him our way? That way we can just take him off your hands and make sure.
Nobody's coming outside.
Well, hear me out, okay?
How many times I gotta keep telling you this? Till I get my shit done, nobody's coming out.
I'm trying to give you the information that I have. I'm just the guy that's passing along the information. You know what I mean?
Well, they should have had someone else do the job because he fucking sucked.
Welcome back, viewers, watchers, listeners. Today we are on the road with the Blue Grit Podcast. I am your host, Tyler Owen. I've got a special guest, and I'm actually at a competition on Texas State's University campus. It's the hostage negotiation competition, and I've got a representative of them. He's going to introduce himself and kind of give a background of himself, and then this competition, kind of how we got this thing started. So, man, I appreciate you stopping here today, and you seem there's plenty of teams and plenty of stuff going on right here in San Marcos and on campus, and I appreciate you stopping by with us and speaking with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My name is Dewayne Poorboy. I'm currently a commander with the San Marcos Police Department. My role in this competition is a co-coordinator with Dr. Wayman Mullins. Dr. Wayman Mullins started this competition in 1990.
Wow.
With 2 teams, and then it kind of grew from there.
That's cool.
And so this year we have 31 teams that are competing, and the idea is for me to take this over at some point. He's 74 years old, and we want to keep this legacy going.
That's cool. We usually start the podcast off and start the guest off and kind of give a background of who the person is, where they worked at, and kind of how they got in law enforcement. So tell us about you, where you grew up, and then how you entered law enforcement profession.
So I grew up in Jourdanton, Texas, is south of San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
Most people don't know where that is, but
Atascosa County. I'm proud to say correct. I can pronounce it now correctly.
That's right. And so after graduating from high school, I went to a semester of college at UTSA before joining the Marine Corps. Did 4 years in the Marine Corps, and then came to Texas State. At the time, it was Southwest Texas to go to college in 2002, 2003. And that was the first time that I was introduced to this competition. Dr. Mullins was one of my professors. Said, "Hey, I'm looking for volunteers. We've been doing this competition for a lot of years. Want students to help out." So
no law enforcement experience at that point. You just had an interest in this competition.
That's right. I wanted to help Dr. Mullins out. He's a fascinating man, and I wanted to get to know him, and I wanted to kind of explore this, and got into this as a student.
Right.
And then, of course, I joined the San Marcos Police Department, and I had to be on there for a couple of years before I could even apply for the team.
That's
cool. So he started not only this competition, but the Hays County negotiation team.
Right.
And so I was able, after a couple of years, to get onto that team, and I served in various roles over a series of several years. I want to say, I think it was 15 years, and I was ultimately going to be the team leader and before promoting. And then I left the team once I promoted.
Man, that's cool that you get to work and see and work alongside somebody that really mentored you in your profession, and, you being involved and so hyper-focused on this type of environment. Let's face it. Look, law enforcement has got so many different facets and so many different divisions, canine, tactical, and then this is a more of a specific type division within law enforcement. And sadly, you being from Jourdanton, you're well aware of this. Departments like Jourdanton have to rely on relationships with counties and states in order to have a hostage negotiation team. So it's pretty cool for you to work with your mentor, someone who introduced you to the profession. What is his background? Was he a law enforcement officer prior to coming?
So Dr. Mullins has a PhD in, I want to say, industrial organizational psychology.
Okay.
He was a reserve officer for the San Marcos Police Department way back in the day.
Okay.
And then he was a reserve officer for the Hays County Sheriff's Office because he was still on our team up to a couple of years ago.
Right. That's cool. So you transitioned over to San Marcos Police Department after gaining some interest on specifically this competition. Talk about what this competition, looking at on the practicality side of real world scenarios, and how it transitioned from utilizing the competition, where we know that it's not fake, but it's practices into practicality of real life situations.
So this is the only place that I'm aware of where crisis negotiators can negotiate a problem all day long. Oftentimes, negotiators, we do everything with the SWAT team, the tactical team,
Yep.
Right? And so oftentimes, whenever you plan scenario training, what happens is you negotiate for a short amount of time, and then SWAT needs to do what they need to do.
Yep.
This this competition doesn't allow that. As a matter of fact, I tell the teams, I'll give you the schematics of the building, but SWAT's not coming in no matter what. you're going to negotiate this. So this is an opportunity for these teams to work through a problem. He has quite an imagination. I'll leave it at that. If you can solve one of these issues that he does, then you'll be able just fine in the real world.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And that's what, for you tactical operators out there that are listening or watching this on YouTube, you know, I have a little bit of experience in tactical stuff. I never really got into the hostage negotiation aspect, but it seems like to me, or at least when I was running and gunning, that tactical teams and hostage negotiation for many years, they didn't really communicate at best. And they didn't at least in the East Texas region, they didn't communicate at the level at which they do now. And what I mean by that is that they didn't practice together. They didn't train together oftentimes as they should. What were your experiences, or what have you seen in the profession that has grown the relationships between tactical operations and tactical units in this realm of hostage negotiators?
So, of course, there's still that kind of rivalry, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
But we have gotten much better
Yeah.
Over the years. And I would say if you're not training with your negotiators or with your TAC team, depending on what side of the aisle you're on, you're doing it wrong. Because the reality is that you can never get enough training. Oh, you don't want a real deal hostage situation to be the first time that you try to deliver the throw phone or do anything else that could cost someone their lives. And that's why I think this is so important, right? Yep. Lives are on the line. Correct. And this isn't me being dramatic. This is a fact.
Yeah. And we have a lot of listeners that aren't in law enforcement. And the realization is that we may call this hostage negotiation, but it's a crisis negotiation. You may have a guy that's in a house that has a felony warrant that doesn't want to come outside. He's in the house by himself. And really it falls on y'all's teams and these teams here today to talk him out and to just resolve it peacefully. And I think that's all law enforcement's goal, but this is more specific training.
Yes, that's correct. And I think that calling a team a hostage negotiation team, that's kind of a misnomer at this point, because a lot of what we do, I think the numbers strike out to like 96% are people in crisis, and then like 4% are actual hostage situations that we're dealing with. Yeah.
I've never had this conversation with somebody who has as much training as you have. With everything going on in the nation, we've seen some California agencies that are kind of reducing the number of responses to crisis negotiations or crisis situations where a mental health consumer, may need some negotiation or may need some assistance on calling law enforcement. What's your perspective on, providing this type of training to all law enforcement, right? And to the consumer out there, you working in San Marcos and it being such a challenge, because a lot of people in San Marcos are from out of state. They're from different regions of the nation. Let's just face it. Let's just call it what it is. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. The fact is some people really aren't educated on law enforcement. What's your take on how much training the average law enforcement, the American police officer, should receive on crisis negotiation in comparison and contrast to what they're getting today?
That's a great question. And that's actually where I typically take these conversations is that we always, in law enforcement, it seems to me, do ourselves a disservice because we say, hey, this is an advanced communication skill. Hey, when you become a negotiator, we're going to provide this training. When you become a detective, we're going to provide interview training for you. But if you really boil down, what does that consist of? Active listening, empathy, building rapport. Those kinds of things are basic negotiation skills, basic communication skills, which we've kind of gotten away from. Yeah. And so this is great specific training, but I'll also say, and my wife may disagree because she knows what I'm up to when I try to use these skills, but these will benefit people in their everyday lives, no matter what they do.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure. Can you give us kind of some insight, maybe an example scenario of what these teams, and for the listener out there and viewer, I know that we don't have cameras today, but I'm sitting there listening or viewing a lot of teams from Texas DPS, San Marcos Police Department, Hayes County, Beaumont, I think's here, Bernie Police Department, a lot of agencies. Give me kind of an example of a start to finish of what they're, you show up with the packet, you're kind of given an outline of what they're expecting, and then walk me through kind of that process of what these teams are going through today.
Sure. So we've got basically 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. We typically have teams split up in half because we have to have actors. And so basically the day starts with an intel brief. And so what I do is I provide them some bare bones information. Then I have some interviews, some intel audios that basically say, okay, this is the first responding officer. Today was a custodian that was inside this school board room. Provide those and then say, I'd love to provide you. I know you have lots of questions. However, I have no answers for you. Give them a phone number for one of the hostage taker, which is going to be typically a college student, is the actors. We get them mostly from criminal justice, the School of Criminal Justice here. And they make the phone call and they start working the problem. One of the things that I provide them before I cut them loose is a flash drive. We want them to be honest and not listen to all the audios, but there's literally like 30 audios on there. And the goal is to have them go to the intel table. It's usually staffed by a couple people. They say, hey, I want to talk to this person's wife. If that person's on the list, they'll say, hey, go listen to audio in. They'll listen to audio in. Audio in may lead you to audio R, to another person. Wow. Or it might just be kind of a red herring. You never know.
Yeah.
And throughout the day, as we would negotiate, as we would collect intelligence, the goal is to try to get all of those folks, the right people, interviewed,
right,
so that we can try to solve this problem. The more we know about a hostage taker, the better off we're going to be to communicate with them.
Right.
So lots of times, cops being resourceful, we'll try to be like, hey, I want to talk to anybody related to this person. We don't allow that. So they got to be a little bit more specific.
That's cool.
While they're going through that. And so, yeah, each team is having to solve this problem. So some of them do really well with intelligence. Some of these teams have tons and tons of people. So that helps too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you've only got 3 people, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But we've seen people show up with 3 to 5 members. We don't tell them, hey, you have to have this many members. It just makes it easier.
Yeah.
The other part of this, and I think this is the most critical part of this competition, is that we bring judges mostly from Texas, but we actually have some from around the country and even around the world. For example, we have a gentleman that ran the negotiation team for the Scottish National Police.
Oh, wow.
And now he is the lead negotiator for the Jesuits.
Oh, wow.
We have a gentleman from Germany who is head of their national team. And then we have a couple guys from Austria that are also part of this negotiation competition. So they're providing feedback for the teams.
Yeah.
They basically let them negotiate. At the lunch break, they'll provide some, hey, here's some good things that you've done. Here's some things I'd work on. The expectation is they add that feedback in and solve the problem, but they're writing a lot of notes all day long. And our goal is to provide those packets with that detailed feedback, right, to the team, so then they can build their training program around how they did.
Wow. What's crazy to me is if you process really how big Texas is and look at all the universities, and it's fascinating and should be commendable or commended to San Marcos Police Department and Hays County for always, it seems like everything that law enforcement centralized here in San Marcos, it's always been, Texas State's always been willing to help out. Texas State's always been willing to kind of partner with law enforcement. And what's fascinating to me is that there's not this relationship with law enforcement and a university is not like this across the state, right? We've got DBU in Dallas. We've got Houston University. And I'm not suggesting that it never happens, but it's so robust and so overwhelmingly, open-handed that, hey, we'll help you out wherever we can. And we've got actors here from Texas State that are helping out, the criminal justice majors. And so kudos to San Marcos Police Department and Hays County. Anthony Hippolito being in Austin, retired Austin guy now, but the sheriff of Hays County. But, kudos to your both agencies for always partnering with Texas State. And let's just face it, Texas State for always lending a helping hand as we're here at the facilities now today.
Absolutely. This cost us nothing. This building is something we've used, and they don't ask for a dime.
That's crazy.
There's things that we have to pay for, but
right,
you're absolutely correct. We couldn't do this without these facilities. We need all of these rooms. We couldn't go to a hotel for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. All
these rooms, we've occupied pretty much every room in this building.
Yeah.
year after year.
Yeah. And it seems like
For free.
this is just one training event that we've hosted here at Texas State. I mean, throughout the whole year, at least since I've been in this region, I see it time and time again. I was talking to somebody the other day at a Hayes City store up in Kyle, and I was just talking about the overwhelmingly support that Texas State is known for helping out law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk about you being a commander and the training that you've received for those commanders that are listening to this podcast right now. Talk about the impacts that it kind of prepares you to make those administrative command decisions and having this training behind your belt and under your belt. And what would you recommend to anybody out there that may be in your position or in their positions in commanding a type of patrol division? What benefits would it be for them to attend some of these kind of trainings?
Again, this is going to be basic communication skills. I think that by putting us in boxes and saying, hey, you only get this training if you take this route, we're shortchanging ourselves, because the reality is that no matter what, whether I'm talking to someone on the street or I'm talking to one of the guys and girls that I work with, those listening skills, that empathy, that rapport over time is what benefits that relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people, I think, believe that like it's gimmicks, right? Like we're just trying to trick these people into coming out. And the reality is that because so many of the folks are in crisis and they're mental health consumers, we may deal with them again.
Yeah.
And they won't forget. And so I would just say the more training you can get related to those interview negotiation skills, again, we like to put it in boxes. So that's kind of how you would have to go look for that training, is look under crisis negotiation, look under the interview interrogation kind of space.
Yeah.
In order to be a better communicator.
Yeah.
Just because, again, no matter where I go in the organization, these skills have benefited me from as a narcotics detective, as a CID detective,
yep,
as a sergeant, running a unit, to now having, 20 guys and girls that I work with on a day-to-day basis.
When we're recording this podcast, unfortunately, this week we've lost two of our brothers. And every time that happens, I'm always kind of resulted back to different events that I've suffered and gone through in my career with loss of my coworkers. San Marcos not being exempt from that, as you guys have lost within the last 5 or 10 years. I spoke with your captain about 3 months ago on the loss of the 2 San Marcos police officers within so many years. What is that type of tragedy this week? You can feel it on the heels of this event today. It kind of puts things in different perspective. Can you talk about that?
Sure. It's a hard thing to discuss just because we're a small agency.
Yeah.
So statistically, you would have never thought that. And so anytime a police officer is killed in the line of duty, it's a tragedy. But to have it happen here twice and within a 3-year period, hit my family hard.
Yeah.
Just because, the young guy that was killed, my family, my son, my wife knew him.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that obviously chokes me up. But at the same time, I believe that you believe this profession is a noble profession. And I think that, as much as my wife's like, you need to do this and get out of this as soon as possible, I've doubled down and said, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And so my encouragement would be, get all the training, get all the skills as much as possible, because if you exit, then, I respect what everybody wants to do, with their life. But at the same time, I would just say that, our experience being on the front lines and being in these positions helped me kind of help the young people, the future, navigate this. And so I don't wish that on anyone, but I will say, because I've gone through that, it is that perspective that now I can add to them to encourage them when times are tough.
Well, and again, I'll touch back on to who mentored you and got you involved in this profession, is that you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to mentor, and the small things matter in life. And kudos to the doctor that introduced you to this profession.
Yep, Dr. Mullins.
You're doing that now with some of these students with the criminal justice. You could do it right now walking past a student at Texas State University. You could do it walking past somebody at a gas station. Speaking of a noble profession, this is the best profession, in my opinion, across the world, because you have so many different aspects in life and impacts on so many different families without even saying a word. Your presence matters, right? Yep. And kudos to everyone that continues to carry on the fallen legacies of our brothers and continue to put that badge on, strap their boots on, and go to work every day. It's why I took the job within Tmpa to be the communications guy, to continue to fight, speaking up for you guys when you guys can't have a voice. And so it's an honor for me to do it. But, I thank you for stopping by with me today. And I can't imagine, right now being a police officer, especially we've lost 2 officers since the first of the year. And these kind of conferences, and you can feel the tone of seriousness of training such as these today.
Absolutely.
So, you want to leave anything else?
No, that's. I appreciate you taking the time and letting me share this, because you actually read my mind in a sense that sometimes people again misunderstand what this is all about. And if I just take it back to the basics, this isn't me, just kind of trying to say, oh, this isn't special. There's lots of specialty to it. Yep. But when you boil it right down, it's just about communication. Yeah. Well, and to kind of speak on that, when we first started law enforcement, probably started around the same time, SWAT teams, tactical training was only given to tactical units. And I think we as a profession have learned over time is that everybody needs this training. It makes us so much safer as a whole to receive the same training. So we're all on the same page for active shooter responses. We're in the hometown of alert, right? Alert's right down the road. And so it's so important to have those trainings available to everybody, not just specific specialized units. Yes, it's unfortunate that we've got to have that level of training, but the world we live in, that's right. Absolutely. Well, hey, we usually end every podcast with 3 rapid fire questions. Okay. First question is, what is your favorite line from a cop movie or your favorite cop movie? The Wire. The Wire. My favorite. Naturally. That's fitting. What is your favorite police car that you've ever driven? Probably my first one, since it was a Crown Vic, it was a piece of junk. Everything's so fancy now. Those things roared, man. You would hear those Crown Vics coming when you called for help, and you could hear the sound of those Crown Vics and know they were on point. What's your favorite drink of choice when you're hanging out with the family, you and your wife are hanging out with some buds? What's your favorite drink of choice when you're cutting back and relaxing off the job? Shinerbach. Shinerbach? Yep. That's very Central Texas. It is. Yes, sir. Brother, I appreciate you stopping by, man. Appreciate what you're doing here and appreciate you having us. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. You guys take care. Stay safe. God bless you. And as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.